Hello everybody, it's David R. Becker with BeckerArt, and for another Thursday paint along. So tonight we're doing a vignette. Alright, so I just did a video on Tuesday on my newsletter, and if you saw that, tonight we're doing a vignette. We're doing this boat, which I already done in my class that I do in Libertyville here in Illinois. I do that in the afternoon. And so here, let me shut off this air conditioner. I just turned on my air conditioner, so it's going to be pretty hot in here. And so if I'm sweating up a storm, it's because I just turned on the air conditioner when I got in here a little bit late. But I have to shut it off so it's not too loud. And anyways, so this is what we're painting today. And let me show you what we're going to be doing on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, I'm going to be teaching a class up in Duluth and up in Minocqua. Both are going to be acrylics, and so we're going to be doing this demonstration. I just want to give you this information that I'm going to be doing a demonstration here on YouTube, and it's going to be these two paintings you see right here. They're going to be a waterfall and this scene from Grand Marais, and so we're going to be doing that in about an hour and a half, and we're going to be doing it with both acrylics and a little bit of watercolor. So we're going to actually do watercolor techniques. So come back here on next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is what? Next Tuesday is the 15th. Come back here on the 15th and you will see me do these two demonstrations. And then sign up for my classes in July on 10th, 11th in Duluth. If you're in Duluth, I'm doing a class there. And then also in Minocqua, I'm doing one. So all that stuff you can find out on my website here at davidrbecker.com or beckerart.net. And for those newcomers, here is where you get my paint-alongs. This is what we're doing today. We're doing this scene right here, and so we're going to have fun doing a vignette of that. We're not going to paint it like that, like you see it. We're going to be painting it a little bit differently. And so for tonight, we always toast with a beer. And actually, I'm going from a beer to tonight we're doing a hard cider. So blood orange hard cider from Seattle cider. So this is a cider. So cheers, everybody. Cheers. And so a hard cider for tonight. And we'll still rate it as a beer. That's not bad. All right, so let's get going with our value study, and let's see what's going on. Oh, actually, let's go with our supplies first. I'm going to show you what we use for all you newcomers. All you people that have been here with me for a while know that I usually use Holbein colors. I use BeckerArt brushes, my BeckerArt brushes, and I have 6 of them that you can get on my website at beckerart.net, and if you want to get them there, you can get them there. Not using any masking fluid or transfer paper tonight. We're going to just be using the Legion Stonehenge paper, and we're going to change that scene from a scene with the background, as you can see back here. And let me just switch this real quickly. If you can see back here that all this scenery back here, that's not going to be there. If you want to put that in, you can, but you're going to have to do it in a very light manner. So it's just a little bit of like really light and pushed way back. You can kind of do it with these values that you see right here. So this is my value study. I actually did a value study today because I wanted to see what I'm going to leave in and what I'm going to leave out. And so what I'm going to leave out is the scenery back here, the mountains and all such that. I want to make it a vignette. And a vignette is when you take all the imagery around it and kind of lay it onto a flat piece of paper. And you can see some of those kind of vignettes I showed in my other things. These are vignettes. These are paintings that look like where the background is not there. There's no background in these, and it's laid on a piece of paper, and so you can see like this all around here. It leaves a lot of way of the paper, and so that's a vignette. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. And so we're taking, and you take a regular picture, and you turn it into that. So here's my darks down here. I'm going to put my darks down here. My darks up here. We create this dark so the boat comes forward. This whole right side over here, I'm going to just leave white of the paper. And seeing that is going to be light over here, that means this decking right here that you see on this boat, which is white on this side of the picture, I'm going to have to turn it dark because otherwise you won't see it. I'm not putting blue here for the water. I'm not even going to put blue down in this area. I may put a little bit of very, very light tint of something. And over here, this area is going to be light. And I scribbled here because I just want it to be a cool watercolor wash. And so that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing tonight. And again, here's what I already did. As you can see, over this area is light. And this area over here is light. And I'm going to make this a little bit lighter this time. I'm going to put a little bit more fun wash here. I don't think that wash is very fun. So we're going to make that a little bit more fun. And so let me just say hello to you guys that are here. And if you signed up there, you don't have to sign up or even say that you're here. But thanks a lot for showing up, everybody, and coming and paint my paint-alongs every Thursday. And hello, Mark. Hey, Mill. Hey, Pamela. Hey, Tina. Hey, Ann. And we got Sonia. Thanks. There's be writing more. A lot of people come in a little bit later. But here we go. We're going to get going because actually this one's going to take too long because the scene is very simple. And that's one thing with vignettes. You're not worried so much about the background and all the other things. Part of the composition is a lot of big washes of light and dark. And so this is my dark area, this is my dark area, and it comes to the light. And my center of interest is in one of the thirds, which is this area of interest. Remember I said on my thing on Tuesday that the center of interest I call area of interest because it's not just this guy that's the center of interest, it's this whole area. And that's in the 1/3 areas. Those areas are where you kind of put the center of interest, or the area of interest, like I like to call it. Then my secondary interest would be this little piece right here, because first you see the person, that's the first thing you see when you see your center of interest, and then you see a secondary interest, which is usually across or somewhere away from that. And so it's down over this area, that's our secondary interest. So that's just to give you an idea of what you're going to be doing. Because I know a lot of people will look at the picture and they'll just paint it just the way they see it. But we don't want to do that this time. We want to turn it into a vignette. And that means this area doesn't have the buildings back there. If I were to put the buildings in there, then I have to make them look like they're just thrown on there and just a little bit of that, like the trees you saw in this one. Let me just show you really quickly. So in the trees right here, these trees back here, it would be like that. It would be things like that you see in the background here. There's not much there. So you would just put them in as a very subtle image, like almost like a little just, it would be like little rectangles there to show that there's buildings back there, if you want to do it that way. But if you don't, just leave it blank or just put the values of some kind of color wash. All right, so let's just get going here. I'm probably going to use the same values and colors as I used this afternoon. I'm not going to switch it up. I kind of like the blue. I could make the water a little bit different color blue and the boat maybe a red. Maybe I'll do that to make it a little bit different, but this turned out pretty well. I thought, I love boats, and so I usually don't have a hard time painting boats. It's just one of those things I love to paint. Oh, I wanted to explain to you that I did change one thing. Everybody in class had a hard time with the front of the boat. This boat, if you look in the photograph, let me just make it a little bit bigger, and I'll show you here. So when you see it really big, this section right here, hold on one second, this section right here, this part of is the center of the boat, and there's this like board that runs down the center, and this beam right here goes to that board. Well, instead what I did is I took this beam out and I just made the front of the boat, and you'll see that here. So what I did on this one, I kind of took it out and I just made it come across the front. Now my drawing, I did it even better. In my drawing on this time, because it was still kind of confusing, and what I did is I dropped it down here so that it goes over here, and then on this side of the boat, which doesn't have it up here, you can see that there's not a little indentation. Like this side of the boat has indentation. So I just made them both the same on both sides a little bit, so that it would look a little bit more like the front of the boat, because that's a little confusing. And anytime you get something confusing in a photo, it's not going to get any better if you paint it, because it's not a photograph. So keep that in mind when you're drawing a boat. Number one thing that's the most important is drawing. So make sure your drawing is right. And so here again, this whole part is a little bit lower than this part back here. And there's a boat over here I just left out. I left the boat out. But watch your drawing. Drawing is number one, right? And then from there we go and we think about the value pattern. So first thing we're going to do is get our lights. We always get our lights first. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to do the lights on the boat. And not so much this part yet, because that's the dark. That's going to be the dark, as you saw in my value study. And in my value study, I probably should bring that to this page too, so you can see it. Let me just really quickly, bring my value study into this scene. So I'm going to put it here so you can see where my lights and darks are going to be. All right, so this part will be my dark. So I'm not going to do that first, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is, actually, since I'm going into the boat, I'm going to use my round brush. Let's hurry up here because I'm already talking too much. Sorry, guys. Cheers, 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 cheers. I don't know if you guys were here before when they cheers. So a hard cider, a blood orange hard cider. Wow, that's pretty good, especially with my air conditioner off now. And I'm going to give that about a 8 paintbrush. All right, so here we go. Let's go in here, and I'm going to get my violet, lavender, a little bit of light blue. I'm going to do this whole side a little bit in the lights. This is a shadow, and it looks really dark right now, right? Because there's no other light, there's no other dark parts like this around, so it just tends to look a little bit dark when you first put it in something like that. Now, you know me, if anybody is new here, I will not just leave it like that. That's just one color, right? And I don't ever do that. I go in there with other colors. So I may throw a pink in there. I may throw an orange into the blue. And I may throw a little bit brighter blue in there. I let things float around in there. I don't use just one color, because throughout the whole painting, these colors will kind of shift into that shadow. And actually on the painting, it's on the photo itself, it does have some reflected yellows in there even. So let's throw some yellow and orange right in here, because it's reflecting from the guy and from this fishing net, which I'll do right away too to get the light parts. And since this awning is going to be dark later and the background is going to be light, I'm just going to go over there later with the dark. So right now, again, I'm just getting my lights. I'm figuring out my color scheme too. When you're doing your lights, you're picking out your colors and you're going over the light areas. This whole line here, this on the side of the boat, is a light color. But now I'm not going to just do that little line. I'll just do the whole thing, because I'm going darker here later. I will stop at this little post here, which I made a little bit different from what it looks like in the photo. I made it more of a log type of thing, where it's kind of more of a metal thing in the photo. That's my choice. I just felt like I wanted to make it look more, I don't know, earthy, old. So I like doing that type of thing, where I just put it in there. And again, this is just too much of one color. I got to put other colors in there. I just don't like when you don't have other colors in there. And this can be a little bit of warmth in there. And right now, I'm not painting the boat. I am painting that little line. And so I'm putting color in that little line, because I'm going to outline that later with the dark colors. That becomes then the light color, which now it's the darker color, but it'll become the lighter color. Here's the windshield. We get a little bit of that in there, because that's going to be darker. The top of the stuff has a bunch of garbage on the top of the boat. I'm not sure what's up there. And I'm going to throw a little bit of orange in there, a little bit of pink, maybe purple. Yeah, let's get a little purple up there and stuff too. Nice colors. I usually into the eave of things, like in the eave of this little boat right here, I'm going to put a little orange. It always helps to make it look lit up from the bottom, like the floor is hitting up and making a warm color. And so just taking this through here. The side of this pillar here, or the post, I'm going to make it a warm color. Yeah, let's make it a warm color, because the sun is usually pretty warm on there. And we're going to just make that a little bit of orange, bring that forward. This rope down here is actually yellow. Do I want a yellow rope? No, this is netting. I mean, the netting. I really don't want yellow in this. It's like there's a little bit of yellow. I'll make it more orangey yellow. Let's do that. I just don't think the yellow, I want the yellow in there, because there's not going to be as much purple as I normally use. This rope. And I also use white a lot of times, and so I'm just going to leave some of that. I'll leave some of the lines, and I'll come back in later with a light white for that. I'm going to leave this a little bit light right there, which I didn't do in my class. And so there's a couple of things I did when I did this thing that I told myself I've got to change. And this is going to be a little bit lighter over here. I went across this, and I want to leave that lighter. And what else did I want to do? And also here I have some sparkles of the water from the back. Like, this is going to be so bright over here. We're going to have sparkles in the water down here when we get to our dark spot. So here on the person himself, I got to get him in shadow. Let's put him in shadow right away. And these buoys here, the bumpers, and the little buoys that they have. Just going to put that in there. And since that awning's going to be dark, so the posts also have to be dark, even though they're white. In the picture, I can't do that because that's going to be white. I'm not doing anything to that part of the painting. Here we're going to do the little round ball bumpers, or little buoy things, markers for where they put their traps down, their nets down. Here we're going to, we'll do the darks later, and we'll get his face. We'll put some, he's been suntanned probably pretty good, so I'm going to give him a nice suntan. And get his hands in there. Again, I'm coloring. I'm just coloring the light values. Here's a little rope. Somebody was asking me in class how you do rope or this netting. You just do the overall part of it, and then you go in there later, do parts and pieces of some of the rope. And then a little bit of white on there, that'll look fine. And then you can just do a couple of lines, and then usually you negative paint that. And again, I'm doing lights first, not darks. That comes in a second, and not too long, and I'll go right into the darks. All right, so I think that's pretty good for my lights. That's pretty much my light areas. And I'm not going to do the water yet because, again, it's going to be my light area. Here, the ground over out here can be warm. So I'll take a little bit of this warm color I have. I'll bring that out this way a little bit, maybe that way a little bit. And I'm just letting it bleed out to the outer edge because, again, that's what a vignette is. You don't have to, the outer edge, you kind of just keep it loose and free. And just let it bleed out to where it's like, looks like it's out of focus. All right, so let's go into our, now we're ready for our darks. That's all our lights. And again, for anybody who's new here, and I see we got, who else came in? Maura, hey Becky. Hey Lynn, hey Jenny, hey Shanna, Sonia, and oh boy, we got a bunch of you coming in back in. So, Becky asked about the white part of the other boat. Yeah, there's another boat back here, but this is part of this boat. This goes around, and it's part of this boat, and then behind it, it's almost tangent. That boat behind it is tangent with this line. There's a boat behind here, which I left out, and I'm not going to put that motor in. And then I noticed that I did put this little thing in, which is the motor, but I'm just going to make it some kind of object on this boat. And I'm just got rid of that, got rid of the city in the background. And so now I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the city in the background. I'm just going to kind of spatter it up here and just make it a vignette. Again, this is not a photograph type of painting where you're doing a scene. This is more a scene of this boat in a vignette style. It's particularly a style. It's a certain kind of way of doing a painting. It's not to show like it's a photograph or like a painting that's from edge to edge. It's in the middle of the paper sometimes, and you vary it place where the center of interest is, and you make it. And we used to do a lot of these in the American Academy of Art where I went to school when I was a student. Why? Because they're a little bit easier to do. They're a little bit easier to do with composition because you can just let the background be bleeding out, which is really fun, because you don't have to worry about what's back here. You just do a nice wash. You do some kind of really cool wash that you kind of like. It's just neat that you don't have to think so much and just let it, and then worry more about what kind of style are you going to use in this wash. What's going to make this look really cool? Am I going to drip it? I can spatter it. Maybe I spatter in here a little bit and just have fun with that. And where's my paper towel? Oh, I spattered some places I didn't want it to be. So what we can do is we can go in here and just kind of wipe that off. But look at all that kind of fun stuff. Isn't that? Maybe it's splashed, and it's not supposed to be anything in particular. Like, it's not an object because it's the vignette part of the scene where it just kind of bleeds off and it becomes, and since we're doing watercolor, we want it to look like a neat watercolor wash. What makes a neat watercolor wash? Spatter a lot of times. Floating pigment is a fun thing. And let's maybe put some other color in there this time. Let me put a little bit of turquoise in there. Let me just get that paper towel out of the way. Maybe a little bit of turquoise in here. And maybe it does look like a little bit of water. Maybe there's like waves or whatever. And isn't that fun where you don't have to think about it so much and just have it a nice wash, a nice fun wash. Learn how to do your washes, and just there's a lot of painters, that's how they paint their paintings. They don't do a background. They just have it as a vignette. And it's not a bad thing to do. There's some people that do will have like certain kind of a style, like maybe there'll be triangles coming in small, and they get bigger, like in objects and stuff. And so it all depends on what you want to make the background. It's kind of abstractish. Is that a word? Abstractish? It's kind of abstract when you want to have the background. All right. So here we go. We're just gonna make a little bit of blue back here. And that's kind of like a nice turquoise blue like they have in the Greek islands. This is a Greek island shot of a boat in the Greek islands. I didn't take the shot when I was in the Greek islands, but I've seen a lot of boats like this when I was in the Greek islands, so I remember them very well. So that's the background over there, and it seems like I need to spatter some more because look, it all went away. So let's have some more fun spattering, right? And so this time, instead of getting all things over something, I'm just going to put this right here so I don't spatter into that part. So let's just spatter and pushing it forward, hitting it on there. There's nothing more fun than spattering, but you should see my front of my monitor at the moment. Oh boy. I'm going to be cleaning that front of my monitor soon. Oh, look at that. It's fun. Yeah, like I said, some people don't like spattering because it's messy, and it makes it look messy too in times. But that's okay. I don't mind that. All right, let's go right into our bow right away. That's our... I'm going to wipe this off a little bit here. And most of this is going to bleed in. It's wet area, so it's just going to bleed in and give me a texture. And so that's going to be kind of neat to give it a nice little texture there. I'm not doing it per se like a sky. You know, I could put a little bit of tone over here, but I don't want it to be an object. It's not supposed to be an object. It's supposed to be a vignette. And so it just kind of bleeds itself away. Hey, Carol. Hey, Karen. Hey, Sue. Some more people coming in. Cheers again. Boy, I'm hot in here. I got to drink a little bit more tonight. So today we have that Seattle Blood Orange hard cider instead of a beer. It's going to be just as good. Okay, let's go to the boat. So with the boat, it's a kind of a rectangular shapes and stuff in here. So I use my flat brush. I'm going to go in and make it blue again. But even though I make things blue, like I said, the boat is blue, that doesn't mean I don't use other colors in there. I start out maybe with one color and I wet it with that one color, but then I go back into my brush, into my palette, and I pick up a bunch of colors that I know that can be around the area. So now look at how that first wash, how light that becomes. Before it was very, very dark, right? It seemed like it was dark when I was putting it on. Suddenly it becomes this really light object, the skirting on the boat. And of course, now I'm going to go in here and get other colors. I'm not just going to use that blue. I'll use maybe a little purple in here, make it a little bit darker. And then since this green is kind of over here, I'm going to take a little bit of the green and put it right in the front here. Just take it nice and thick, and then just the paper is wet already, so I can just plop that in there and it'll just float right on top of the blue, and it'll just give you a nice kind of look. Now over to the back part, and we go really quickly to the darks. Go right around here. Right around the edge, nice and dark. And I'm gonna make these little lines kind of connect from this side to this side. Again, if you have any questions, anybody, please put them up there. Every once in a while I'll look up. Guys did a great job with the lion last week. I was very proud again. Boy, you guys are just really, it's wonderful seeing you guys paint such nice things. Keep up the good work. It's awesome. And so here we go. Make it nice and straight. If, you know, the smoother you go, the slower you go, the better it's going to look. Don't worry about. Looks like I'm going to paint this little buoy here. Marker buoy. And then we're going to just take some nice dark colors. Let's see, even some little brown in here. Just make it really, really dark. And so see how dark that is? I'm just dipping into all kinds of colors, even a little brown, a little blue. And I'm just going to wet it then. And then once it's wet, then that's time for floating. That's time for my floating pigment. And why do you float the pigment? Because it sits on top, and you can put a light color on top of a dark color, dark colors on top of light colors. It doesn't matter because it's just going to float. It's floating up on top. So maybe a little bit of, how about a little bit of light there? Just let it float in there. See how it makes this little nice little shapes. It could be like the water right there. Something got really shiny because of reflected light somewhere. And then right away, I'm going to go right into the water and make the... I'm not going to make a connection where the water hits the boat because that is not really usually a line. So you don't want to make it so perfect that you know where the boat starts. It's not... Otherwise, it becomes too... like it's sitting on top of the water. This way, it'll look like it's going into the water. And I'll just make my reflections a little bit darker. And so I'll use a darker blue. And so it'll be a soft edge. If I do make it kind of an edge right there, it's going to be a soft edge and not very noticeable. And now this is going to be, the water is waving, so we had a wave thing the other day. And so the one side of the wave is dark and the other side is light, so you leave a little bit of this light stuff shining through. But now I got to get some of this over here. So I probably should have done that first. So I'm going to wet this area real quickly and see if I can't get a little bit of this softness that I have up here down here, because that'll give it a look of, you know, a nice continuity where this and this kind of look the same. So I'm going to do that. then knowing that this is going to be white up here, this little buoy here, which is kind of an orangey red, let's make this a red. I'm going to use that same color and use that down here and just make these little reflections in this white area to make it look like it's just, you know, on top of really light, because again, it's going to be the vignette of this picture, and so there you're not going to see a color up here because I'm keeping it white. Well, maybe a little tint right here of water, and so that'll be the reflection of that into the water. Maybe this a little bit too light, so I'm going to keep that down here a second. All right, so that looks pretty good. Here we're getting a little bit of, that was a little bit wetter than this time was, but I can wait until that's dry and I can scrub that a little bit so it doesn't give me that watermark, but it may be fine. We'll see. Let's keep on going. And so let's get into our darks areas and get objects. And so the bottom of this boat on the floor is a kind of a earth tone. And so I'll put a little bit of earth tone down here and make it a little bit darker. Same time, negative painting around the front of this post. And putting a little bit over here. Making the side of this, and maybe a little bit of blue, maybe because this is a white post coming down here, so the white post needs a lavender blue type of edge to it for the shadowing. And again, this is the side of the part of that boat. I'm gonna keep that light. This post is going to be a dark, and so I might as well get that right away since it's already dried. So I'm waiting for this to dry a little bit here, and for this stuff to dry a little bit. So I'm going to go right here and just do a nice dark, leaving the side edges light, and then maybe the grain of the wood. And maybe to dull it down a little bit, because right now it's like a brown, but I'll put a little blue in there. That'll kind of gray it down a little bit. And that'll give me a nice little post right there. And it'll look like it's a little more of a gray then. Leave the top white, because I need some white. Once I leave white in one spot, got to kind of leave the white alone. Here we get a little reflection shadow. Then we're going to get a little bit of more of the orangey ropes that are down here and netting. And then put a couple lines for netting. All right, any questions, guys? Questions, come on. We love our questions, you know that. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I want to look at my value study again. See, the value study is important that you look at the value study and see what you need to make dark and light. So this whole section right here, now I can go right in here. This is all dry. I'm going to go with my smaller brush because now I have to go in there and kind of draw the top of that, what do you call that? Shelter, I guess, or so I'm gonna make it. It's a white one in the picture, you know, little covering canopy. That's a good word. The canopy on top of there, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna make it orange because I already have orange elsewhere. Like I have down here orange. I have this kind of orange, like so. We're just gonna make that orange too, and then we'll make the little lines and maybe make it more Greek island like. I don't know what that means, but so I'll make a little dots here. And we're going to bring this down as a dark, these dark edges right there behind him inside the boat. See how I'm doing darks now, and I'm getting my darks, and they're going to be. I still try to, you know, go from middle tone to a dark, but they are my darks, and so they create shapes. Darks always create shapes. And it creates objects that mean something. So like in here, what does this create, this dark? It creates this, the inside of the window, and the window itself, it's making an edge to it. And so you're basically creating a window and what's inside the window, all with one wash of dark right in there. And so it makes it look like you're seeing through the window and you're seeing the outer edge of this window. So one brush stroke and look at how much you can get done. So same thing with this in front here. I'm just going to go. And usually when I do this, I've got to leave the light part for the part that's the light. So you're negative painting the little parts of the window that are white in the front part. So that was the color that you first put on that we thought was dark, right? It looked a little darker, but now it becomes light by putting it dark next to it. And then I can go really dark right here. I can make a little line right there. I can even put the little, like I did before, orange on the inside. Here with the outer edge. And the darks are also more of the when you start getting into where you're doing details. I mean, these are details. These are details of the picture, and that's what darks get you. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part. And you have to work a little bit harder, and that's why I'm using a smaller brush. I'm not going to go in there with a big brush unless you have a style that's very, very loose. You know, like an Eric Weigart or a Tom DeFrancesconi. He does it where it's a little bit looser, like a little bit looser style, where it's almost abstract in a way. Some of the parts of the boat would be abstract in a way, and so that's a looseness you can get sometimes too. So, but if you're a little bit tighter like I am, then you're going to spend a little bit more time and work a little bit more smaller brush and just take a little bit more time and get your shapes right. And then there's those that paint like photographs, and they have to go really slow. And they're not going to be going fast at all, because I mean, they have to take the time and really make those lines look like perfect. So if you want to make it look like a photograph and really, really detailed, you got to slow down and really work on making it, you know, nice and straight, and that's all style. Even though this vignette, because you can do a vignette also in a tight style or a loose style. Vignette is not, you know, a loose or tight style. It's just it's the style of leaving the outer edge alone and letting the paper show through. So that's nothing to do with how are you a really tight painter or a loose painter. That does nothing to do with it, because I've seen people who do vignettes of paintings that are very tight and some very loose. Just to keep that in mind. Here's a bunch of junk behind that with a little netting, and some just kind of, you know, I don't know what's back there, but whatever it is, it's darker than this rail, so darker than the trim here, and so I can just negative paint the trim and then make these things something that I think is on a boat. And I'm not sure what that is up there, what they're storing up there, but good enough. And the front of this, see where I lost a little bit of the white of the front here? So that I can rub out with a brush, and I'm using this paper that rubs out really easily, so I can just rub this out real nice and easy. And now I got the front of my boat back on the top part of this boat. And so next, boy, we're going pretty fast here. What time is it? Oh, we got plenty of time. Oh man, I better slow down a little bit. Ask some questions, guys. Ask some questions. Then again, it's not bad getting done fast. They're sooner. Many of you probably have dinner still to catch. And so here we go. Let's see. And let's put some of these little reddish orange little bobbers, or whatever they call them, on a net. There's these little red things that hold the net up, I guess. And so I'll put a few of those in there. Same thing over here, a couple of those in the netting. There's ropes over there and netting. This, if you look on the boat, there's a little bit of netting and ropes. It's a little bit of both. And they do, like I said, they do have some yellow ones in there. But the ropes, you basically have to use your light and negative paint them afterwards. And then have some hard edges, some solid edges for the dark parts of the rope. But rope is usually lighter, and so you're going to see the behind the rope more than you will see the rope. So that's called negative painting, painting around the actual rope itself. So here I'm going to do some netting. Now let's do this little round thing in front here. I'm getting my smaller brush. I'll pick up some of the blue that I have from the boat, get it out over here, and just do this little round reel that's reeling in the nets. Looks like they use this to reel in the nets. And I can be a little bit more detailed with this. That way, you know, it'll give this area a nice look. I mean, there's a point where you get to the detail, and you really should be putting it in nicely and detailed. And also, some of it can be really nicely contrasty. See how the windows are pretty contrasty now? And I can even get, until I get to black, you can't go darker than black. But until you get to that point, you can always go a little bit darker. And then you save those blacks for like these little, I call them dark highlights. They're little things that are like highlighted, but they're solid black almost, because you want them to kind of be very noticeable. You just give them those little hints, like inside crevices and little lines, and especially the lines when we do the fishing lines in a second, we'll be doing those with them, with like almost solid black. And anywhere you want your eye, like this guy here, he has a bib on, and so I'll put this dark bib on him. And see how I jump around? Because it really doesn't matter what part you're doing now, because you pretty much have your lights done, and you're just basically creating all the darks. And do you do darks that are, I usually like to do the darks that are bigger first, like the boat, bigger darks, and I get down smaller and smaller and smaller until I get to the details. At a certain time, like this, yes, this bib was probably bigger than this, but sometimes wherever you're at, you know, you can just kind of, I just noticed here, I want to put a little bit of this dark in there, because I have it in my brush. Now here we go with this little bib, this fisherman bib. So it gets all the smelly fish in there. Usually those jumpsuits are sometimes yellow too. I know there's a lot of yellow or orange, but we're going to make them whatever color you want. And then I'm going to do this dark hair. Just going to give them dark hair. Again, how loose do you make it? Do you make it really loose or do you make it super tight? That again is up to you. Sue asked if the vignettes can also be darker on the edges. Yes, they can. So let's say I wanted just to make that really dark up here to light, and then have most of this being, you know, light, and the vignette being dark. Yes, you definitely can do that. And I can show you that in the one, I think I still have the one scene here. Let me go show you this really quickly. So this this scene right here, let's put this up on top. And so if you look at this scene, that's more of a dark vignette. So there you have the dark colors and dark values and stuff that go around the outer edge. So yes, you can have the vignette being dark and have the subject light. That doesn't matter. It definitely, it's just not detailed. It's not described enough to make it something. You know, it can just be a watercolor wash. That's where you do that with watercolor. You can also do it with oils, and with oils, a lot of times it's how you. I think Richard Schmid did a bunch of vignettes. If you knew Richard Schmid, he passed away not too long ago, he was a master also at vignetting portraits. In portraits, you do a lot of vignetting because you just have it bleed off into the background, and you have like a watercolor wash in oils, and that's fun too. I mean, I've seen that done, and that's super cool looking. So here we're going to take a little bit of this and of this thing and put it down here into the water, like reflecting into the water. That's the color. And it reflects all the way down. Same thing with this again, a little bit of that. Then we're going to take a little bit of the lavender and kind of make the dark part of this boat. Make the shape of this boat bumper. I think this is a boat bumper right here. So, and then there's a bunch of junk back here. I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to make a bunch of lines. I'm just kind of putting lines in there. See, I just kind of fake whatever's back there. I don't know what's back there. I've never been on this boat, and I can't see it in the thing very well, and I don't really care what it's back there. So I just make it up and make a bunch of lines. You know, there's going to be some kind of lines going in here, and this is a netting, so I'm going to use my rigger brush, my long rigger brush. See how long that is, thin in that is. So we're going to take and I'm going to make this netting the orange, and so I'm just going to take and really lightly. Oh, it's too wet. Watch it. If it's too wet, you can't make a nice sharp line. So I'm just going to take, because all the water will puddle in the front of the brush. So just use a little bit more paint. And so I'm just going to make a little cross hatches. Thanks for that question, Sue. That was a great one. Yes, because it's all about the edges being either light or dark, or using the paper and you're just bleeding off into a nothingness, you know, basically. A lot of times you have paper there because you're not doing anything to it. I may make this a little bit darker in a second, a little bit later too, because I felt that it got kind of a little bit light. Now this, get the netting a little bit darker over here on the edge part. This is the part that's usually boring to watch because, you know, you're just doing detail. I'm just basically drawing. It's like you're drawing things, and here I'm drawing in between the ropes, and so not actually drawing the rope, I'm drawing the rope behind the rope in front. So you just kind of go through there and just kind of find a line and then go around it, because you're painting the shadow, you're not painting the actual rope. I'm going to do that with white of the paint. I'll go back with white of the paint, and I'll show you how to do some white of the paint and use that for your rope. And yes, it is something that you can't, you know, submit them to a certain shows, but it's the easy way of just doing a white rope. Oh boy, I just lost my voice. Let me have a sip. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Man, is it hot in the studio when the air conditioning goes off? Oh boy. It's like I'm doing a 5-mile run here. I'm going to be so sweated up. So now I'm going to do a little shadowing here. Maybe a little bit line work outside the boat. Shadows in the dark part of the boat itself here. Maybe the lines on the ship deck. And you don't see this, well, you're watching the same thing I'm watching, but I look up at my screen when I'm doing it to look away from the painting or step back. But by me looking at my imagery in my screen right now, I can see it like it's in a distance, so I can take and check it out. And you should do that once in a while. Stand back from your work or look at it, put a camera on it, and then look at it from a distance or make it small. And it'll show things that are wrong, things that are just don't seem right because you're putting it all together as one and seeing it from a distance. That's how you look at paintings. You don't look at them this close when you're painting them, because when you're painting it, you're pretty close, and that's not a good way of looking at it, because doesn't see, you see that piece then, but you don't see the overall how it matches to this part and that part. And so every once in a while you get back and you look at the whole thing. I used to have a teacher, Mr. Parks, and Mr. Parks he was a life drawing teacher, and he would always tell us every half hour, he'd go, every now and then, get up off of your bench, get back and take a look at the whole thing. Of course he wanted that. We were always waiting for him to say ass, but he would never say it. Get up off of your bench, get back and take a look at the whole thing. So he did that every half hour on the dot, and boy, he started realizing that you do have to get back. Every now and then, get back and take a look at the whole thing, the whole picture. It helps to see the whole picture. Putting a couple of reflections in there. So here now I'm going to put some rope shadows in here. I'm going to paint the ropes white on top of this. So I'm just going to put in some shadows. Here I'm going to paint a little bit of this rope. And it looks like, what did I do in this painting? I'm trying to think. And here in this, it needs a little bit of water, I think, right there. I have it dark right there. See in my value study? So follow your value study. And here I have a little bit darker too. So watch your value study. That's what you want to do, so that you know what looks right, because you didn't do it for nothing. You did it because you look at it so that you know what's right and wrong, and you figure out obstacles. Like what's going to happen? What can you do? Is it easier to make this light or dark? And so I'm going to do that by making this dark. Holy cow, am I sweating? It is so hot in here. It's like I've never done a painting in a sauna before, so this is kind of like doing it in a sauna. Oh, Mace is even drying. So here, get a little bit darker in here. So I'm just going to do a little bit right here just to make it, 'cause that's what I have in my value study, and it looks pretty good in my value study. So I'm just going to do a little bit right here, let it bleed off to nothing. Put a little blue in there. Well, it did teach me that I better start putting in my my air conditioner way before I go on to the into YouTube here. Before I get my studio, turn on the air conditioning. Now this is a little bit. Let me get a piece of paper towel here. 1 second. Got little dripples here from the palette. I'll keep that light. Here I'm just going to put a little bit of a. It seems a little bit light there. Put a little dark right there. And then I'm going to do something here just because I need something. Like it seems like it needs something there, like a little reflected light. Here's some light or reflections coming off of that. Here we'll put a little bit of the line work in. Top of this a little bit. Okay, a little bit more. How much time do we have? Oh, I guess still got more than 15 minutes. Oh, some questions, I think. It seems to need a little yellow behind the man, or a small splash of yellow in the netting. Okay, you're right. I think it is. Yeah, a little bit. Because I do have this up here, the yellow. So, good look, good show. Put a little bit right there. A little bit of yellow in there instead. Oh, thanks, guys. See, I need your guys' help. So don't be afraid of telling me what to do. I really love it. Sometimes I'm too close to it, and maybe behind them, like you said, that's kind of good too. Maybe right back here. What else we got here? Watching you do the detail is my favorite part. Oh, cool. It is? Oh, I always thought it was very boring. Maybe that's just me when I'm watching. Okay, here we get a little darks in there. So I got to keep my details in this area a little bit more. And maybe I'll do this mouth. Oh, he's not smiling now. Let's do the side of his face a little bit darker. Looks like he's in a shave. Maybe he's got a beard. Here we go. And this side should actually be darker anyway. It's darker red because it's on the side right away from the sun. So let's make that a little bit darker. And I feel this line is a little bit too bright. So I'm going to take a little bit of wash over it. Take a little blue wash and just going to go over some of this line. It just seems too vibrant to be that light down there, especially in the back here. I'm just going to tone it down a little bit, put a little wash over it. Gotta stick with the values, even though it's light there. I like to stick with the values, and since there's a light right there, I'm going to put a little bit of light into the water right here. But I gotta float it. I gotta put water down first, because you cannot put light on top of dark unless you put water down first and let it float. Otherwise, that becomes gouache. That becomes like a gouache technique. All right, so one more thing, or two more things. One is going to be the darkening that, and then my whites and stuff. I'm going to go in with white paint and show you how to use some white paint on these things. Let's get a couple of really darks right up here. Dark there. So to get that, so let's say I don't like that because it's just a little bit too light. I like to get a little bit of this blue over there, but not so much that it looks like the boat. But so what I can do is I can take my bigger brush, just wet it with clean water, and then just re-wet. Not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to go in there. I'm barely touching the paper, so it's not going to do anything to paper. Even though this paper lifts up really easily, it doesn't do anything if you just lay a little bit of water down, and don't touch it too much though. And now it's evenly wet again, and now I'll just go in with a thick amount of paint, and I want it to be just a little bit darker up there, just a little bit more pizzazz up here, if that's a word, pizzazz. I'm always making up words, I guess. And so we're going up here, and then just kind of, maybe it can be water. It can look like water. Maybe we go up like this a little bit. Just a little bit. And that's going to dry a lot lighter than it looks. I know it looks really dark right now, but you got to remember, 20% lighter. It's going to dry. And it's, I wonder if we should take it off. Nope. Just going to kind of put it in there a little bit. Yeah, see, it's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit, makes my bow come forward a little bit more. It gives some of that color over on this side. Let me just dip into here a little bit. It almost seems then, if I do that, maybe a little bit of that blue right in here. It always kind of bugged me before in another painting too, a little bit here. Just a little bit darker. And let's make one of these a little bit darker. I'm going to make this side a little bit darker. Like there's a little bit of light coming through here, and so that's lighter, and that's darker and one's lighter. It's always best to have one or the other, and not, it's just because that's two different things, and one's a little bit farther back than the other. Okay. What else? What else? What else? Anybody else see anything? Tina, you see anything? Hey, Gudrun. Where are you from? Syracuse. Oh, cool. I gotta get back to Syracuse one of these times. I am going to the Thousand Islands in August, so I'll be running through Syracuse, but I probably won't be able to stop. All right, so I wonder if I'll make it. A lot of times I make it up to in between Syracuse and Utica. There's a big casino. And I usually stop there to sleep there at night. I just sleep in my car a lot of times. So on the way up to, I wonder if that's as far as I make it. Sometimes that's as far as I can make it from Illinois. And I've stopped a couple times at that big casino between Utica and Syracuse. Because they have nice big parking lots, and in the morning I can go get a cup of coffee for nothing. My vehicle is set up like a RV sometimes, so I just stop there. All right, so I think we're almost done here, guys. Oh, white of paint. All right, I almost, Tina, you didn't say white of the paint again. Let's get this stuff out of here. All right, so white of the paint. So this is the unlawful part, right? This is the part that most watercolorists look away if if you're a traditional watercolorist, look away at this point, because I'm going to be using white paint now. And so I'm going to highlight things. I'm just going to put things in with white paint. I love doing a white paint because I just think there's some really cool stuff that you can make with the white paint. Like I can make all these little ropes look nice and beautiful. Because it's not going to give me white, pure white. It's going to give me a little bit off tone of white. And so I can make some really cool stuff looking really neat, like little highlights on things. And especially ropes. Like you can put ropes on things. Like, look at this. Put little ropes. Watch this rope. This is a Shapiro rope. Now he would do it with a dark color. He would never use white. Boy, if he knew I was using white right now. Right now he's turning in his grave, I know. But here, watch this. Watch this little round, little hanging here, little rope. Isn't that great? Isn't that fun? A little rope right here. And then maybe a little highlights on here if you want to clean something up. Maybe he's got glasses on. That maybe just put on something here. Highlights on these little, maybe they're shiny. When something's wet, it gets shiny and it gets a lot of little white. Oh, I said I was going to put in the white into the water to make it look sparkly. The little dots right here. All right, Tina, you missed it. So little white dots here for highlighting it. Then again, I don't think you were here when I said that in the very beginning. I said I was going to put the little white highlights here, little dots to make it look like the sun is really bright here, and so little nice light little dots right here. What's that? Oh, that's wetness. And since I noticed I have a couple, when I spattered, I have little dots. I think we're going to actually do some birds today too, since we still got time. So little white dots in here. See how it makes it look like it's really shiny and little dots of light. If you ever look at, and if you're looking into the sun and the sun's out in the midday, and you look at across the lake when it's really wavy, boy, it just really just sparkles like crazy, the water. So sparkle away here, right over these little dots I have. I wonder if I should put some sparkles in here. I can put a little bit of white lines in here. Here we got the netting. You do a little bit of netting. A little highlight on there. Boat on the rope on top. It's wet. When something's wet, it's going to be shiny. I don't care how dark it is. You can have a little bit of white on it because it'll shine and make it look wet. What else? What else? What else? Maybe top of his hand. Even stuff that's in shadow can have a little bit of light in it because it can just have reflected light. Pamela asks, how do you get your paint in your palette puddle rather than look like toothpaste? I just squeeze it down and I just push it around and stuff. But then when you actually go to wet it, when I wet it, then it becomes, it still comes like toothpaste, but you just wet it. You just, like here, I'm just going to wet it. It goes in like toothpaste, I guess, because it's a little bit but it settles down, and you can wet it. When you wet it a little bit, it'll come out perfectly fine. Actually, I like it when it gets a little bit harder than it is like too creamy. If it's too creamy, then I pick up too much a lot of times. So I like to have it a little bit where it feels like toothpaste, so I'm not dipping in and getting so much that it's like crazy. Still wondering about up here if I should do some little dots in here too. I wonder. This one, I'm checking this out, seeing if it'll work. I'm not sure. Let's see. Maybe over here too. Little dots. Again, it's a vignette, so you can have fun with the outer edges, and it doesn't have to be anything in particular. It can just be a cool wash, a cool thing happening. And if I later on feel like I need my airbrush and then to put a little wash over that because it's too white, you can do that too. But you want to keep white of the paper. And so I think that's going to be pretty much about it. Unless you guys have another question, we will call this quits again for today. And again, put it on my Facebook page, on the group page, and it's looking great, guys. Now, in a couple of weeks, let me tell you about that Duluth again. Next Tuesday, please watch me. Next Tuesday, I am doing at 6 o'clock. I'm doing a demonstration of 2 paintings, and they're both going to be done in acrylic, but with a watercolor technique. And so you get a little bit of both, and so you get a little bit of watercolor technique and acrylic technique. And I'll be doing 2 of them in an hour instead of just 1. And it'll be fun. It'll be really cool, and I want you to see it because I'm doing 2 classes of the acrylic, one at the Duluth Art Institute and one at the Lakeland Art League in Minocqua, Wisconsin. And both of them are going to be kind of the same. I mean, I have different photos for each one, just in case somebody wants to go to both of them. And you don't have to bring any materials. All the materials are supplied, so you don't have to buy these acrylics to do this class. You just come with yourself, and you're there, and I give you all the materials, and you can just try them. Now you can't take them after you're done. You can't take the brushes or anything like that. You can't take your photos and your paper and the dried up paint because it is acrylic. So, but you can't use the acrylic paint afterwards. But now I think I need a little bit of this warmer color or this blue. This is a little bit too detailed down here. See how nice and flow that is over here? The last thing. Just going to take this and just kind of float it in here. Make it a little bit more like that up there. It has to look the same kind of thing so on both sides here. So I'm just going to put that in there like that. So if you're in the Duluth area, and for 2 days, the 10th and 11th, I'm doing the acrylic class. It's called water media because we use 3 different kinds of acrylics, actually 4, but a little bit of ink, fluid, heavy bodied, and gouache. And then we use 4 different kinds of papers. We use canvas, Yupo, black, and white watercolor paper. And so it's a really lot of fun thing to do. It is acrylic, but again, you don't have to bring anything. So, and you'll be doing, I think I've learned more with that class in my watercolor than I have with my watercolor class because you learn how to use enough paint. That's one thing about when you're using an acrylic, you tend to use a little bit more paint and a little bit thicker. So if you're not a painter that paints very thickly, take my acrylic class, my water media class, we call it, because we got more people to take it when we called it a water media class. All right, that's enough. All right, so that looks pretty much like that. We got the listening, we got the guy. I think that's pretty much it. All right, any more questions? Ann wants drawing lessons. Yeah, I've got I'm still working on my sketchbook where I'm going to teach you how to draw from your imagination, from your head. But yeah, drawing is something that I can show you how to practice, but I can't actually show you. You have to do it on your own. You have to pretty much spend every day, a little bit at a time, and you have to learn how to look at the object and then look away from the object and see if you can't draw the object by not looking at it. I will explain that one day. And actually, I've got a book coming out hopefully soon. It's been about 2 years now since I've been saying that I'm going to get this book out, but hopefully it will come out soon. I've got it written already. I just have to get the pictures and everything drawn because it's like an assignment book. So here we have the 2 from today and this afternoon. And this is now. And pretty close to the same thing. This is one that's pretty different. Not that much difference. Here I put a little bit more junk inside. This one I didn't put much as junk inside. I made up a bunch of stuff because I couldn't see it. It was smaller. This afternoon I saw a little bit more what was happening. It looks like he's got a mask on actually, so it's even here for the times, right? He didn't get his COVID shot yet, but as soon as he gets his COVID shot, it'll be good. So again, guys, thanks for watching on Thursday. And I'm not a boat fan, but you did a great job. Maybe I'll do a vignette experiment with another subject. Yeah, if you don't want to do a boat, if you're not into boats and you don't want to do the subject, try another object for this vignette, and I would still love to see it. I would love to see what you do. So definitely, anytime you want to do something else, when are you in Duluth and online? Next Tuesday. The 15th, I'm on. I'm not in Duluth. I'm doing the online on Tuesday. Next Tuesday, you can just look at my website, and it's on there. And yeah, I'll be doing that demonstration next Tuesday at 6 o'clock here on my YouTube channel. So just come back to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and that way you always find it. You always find it, and that'd be great. And let me go to the ending thing here, and you can see me in the corner. So cheers, guys. Thanks again. Come to my YouTube channel, and then come to my Facebook page and post your things there so I can see them, all right? So here's until next Tuesday. See you on Tuesday, and then I'll see you on Thursday. So next week, 2 times next week, I'm going to see you. And you can ask all those questions. So thanks, guys. Thanks. Oh, yeah, Tina says no birds. No birds. I'm going to ruin it if I do birds. I always ruin it with birds. So here's the next Tuesday and Thursday.